I want to do a dark week. Like, I don't even know what it is and I want to do it.
As an agency, we spend so much time working on our clients' work that we spend very little time working on things for us. And so it became obvious that in order for us to build anything meaningful, you needed to have some time aside. You first will pitch the project to the team. This is what I think I need. And then you're going to communicate who needs to fill the gap for you. So maybe someone needs to cover some of your meetings, and then you go dark.
Welcome to another episode of Agency Growth Engine. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the CEO of SMC National, and we're a dental marketing company, which is like weird. You don't hear a lot about dental marketing companies out there in the agency world, but I have another weirdo here with me who also is a co-founder and CEO of Pain-Free Dental Marketing. And I've actually met with Andre down in Texas when I went down there, and him and I are both in masterminds together, and he does an amazing job with his agency. And I'm really actually excited to pick his brain about what he's doing, why he got into the dental industry, and hopefully this will help you as you grow your agency. So Andre, thank you so much for coming on today. Excited to chat through this with you today.
Thanks so much for having me, Gary. This is super exciting. Obviously, we've been in touch for a little while now. I found you because of your content on LinkedIn and the podcast and now the Discord. And it's been a phenomenal way to connect with other people and learn more about, the industry and just all the challenges that we have as business owners and agency owners. It's been a really cool way to grow. Yeah.
So you have 18 team members right now, and you're doing about $3 million a year in revenue. Is that right? Or do I got that right? Those numbers right?
That's right. Yeah. I have a business partner. We're co-CEOs, Eric and I started out of the house in 2016 and been, growing since then.
Awesome. So how'd you get into dental? Like, how did you niche down? Or let me rephrase that question. So everybody always asks me, Gary, I want to niche down, but I don't know how. And I try to explain it the best way that I know how. But how did you niche down into dental?
It was a bit of an accident. I mean, in my background, I was a software engineer at GameStop. I was a programmer writing APIs. And I'm originally from Brazil. And my now business partner, his wife is from Brazil. So we were in completely different departments. We didn't know each other at all. And someone mentioned that there was a guy whose wife was Brazilian, and he connected us. And that's how our friendship started. And fast forward, 3-4 years, he had left GameStop and he started doing a little bit of a side hustle, helping his personal dentists with marketing. And he'd hit me up every now and again to look at the website. At some point, I wrote a poor man's version of CallRail for him to track phone calls. And it just, little side projects grew. And eventually he said, hey, man, I think I'm going to do this full time. And his personal dentist really loved what we're doing. And he was our original investor. He wrote us a check for $50K to go start a business and referred us to a couple of other dentists. And then it just made sense to stay in dental because, as we start figuring out how things are working, what kind of ad copy, what kind of content, it just made sense. So I don't think we ever had this purposeful decision to niche down. I think we started there. Now, along the way, we have had chances to branch off into other verticals, but we chose to just stay in dental because we really love it. And again, we wanted to go deeper and learn more. And it's tough if you're constantly having to relearn a new industry.
Yeah, let's talk through that. So what makes it tough? Because here's the hard part, right? So you probably get the same calls I do. Hey, Gary, I'm an optometrist. It's just like dental, right? We're really close. And I got 5 practices. I'm spending, $10,000 a month in marketing or $20,000. So, you can really boost your MRR taking on this new client. Why do you say no to them? Like, why is that a thing for you to be able to turn away that business?
I think for you to do really good marketing, you have to understand the customer and you have to understand the product. What are you selling? What is the vision? What's the message? I think oftentimes in marketing, we focus too much on the channels in terms of Google ads and Facebook ads. And to me, those are delivery mechanisms for a message, right? Mm-hmm. And you're trying to sell a product. In our case, I think the product is the dentists themselves, the quality of the work and the experience, because a regular person can't tell the difference between a good crown and a bad crown. So selling the dentistry itself is selling a commodity. You really have to sell the experience and why you choose this dentist over another one. And I think once you really get to know an industry, it's hard to figure out in the optometry field, like I said, what is it that people care about. As we're in dentistry, we understand that a little bit more. There's a lot to learn still. The landscape is changing all the time. There's new platforms all the time. But I think if you stick with the premise that you have to have a unique message and you have to speak to the consumer's need, then I think we can be successful.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So that's one of the things that helps so much with niching down is that the more time you spend on this one thing and you put your undivided attention on that one thing, for us, it happens to be dental patients. For other people, it's whatever niche you're in, the better you become at speaking directly to them. Now, the other advantage that I've seen, and I'd love to hear this from you as well, is that operationally speaking, it makes my life way easier because we have one client or one kind of client. I used to have 50 different kinds of clients. When we started our agency, we had all the different kinds of clients. We did chiropractors, optometrists, car wash. I mean, we did everything. So operationally, it got much easier when we stopped working with everybody and just focused on dental. Is that something that you see as well?
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, on the operation side, on the marketing side, all across the board, like your customer success, people know what to look for in the data. We've even gone so far as, because of my, technology background, pooling all of the, let's say, Google Ads data from all of our accounts together and saying, okay, across the entire portfolio, what are the keywords that work the best? What are the search terms that, a lot of our clients are smaller, they're single practices. And so it's hard to get enough data through their account to make meaningful decisions. But if I can pull everyone's data together, I can learn a lot faster, right? In terms of what works and what doesn't work.
That's so cool. Yeah, we do the same thing, and it's amazing what you find when you're looking at trends across multiple practices rather than just one or two. Now, one of your core values is, and I love this, you call it a practice compassionate capitalism. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so I think to us, obviously we're a company like everyone else. We're not a nonprofit. We need to make money, but it's about, we're not here to make every single possible last dollar that we can. We believe that, in terms of compassionate capitalism, it's the ability of make a fair profit, but also take care of the people around you. So we spend a lot of time taking care of our team. We spend a lot of time going a little extra mile for our clients, even if it doesn't make sense financially, to send them a gift or to do a special project on the side that we normally wouldn't do. We're not super focused on just, straight capitalism, making every dollar. We want to take care, do it the right way.
Yeah. So something that I've practiced, and you worded it that way. So you had this core value that you called it, and the way I've kind of framed it is I put the team first. So now, granted, we have to have money to take care of the team, right? So if the company doesn't have any money, then I can't take care of the team the way that I want. And so we call it putting the team first. And what that means is, from a practical standpoint, is rather than just looking at the bottom line on everything, we go to the team and say, okay, how is this going to impact the team? Number one, how is this going to impact the client? Number two, and then how is this overall going to impact the company? Lastly, we still look through all those lenses. And I think depending on which lens you go through, it changes your perspective of the problem. So as an example, if you say, well, we're profit first, so let's look through that and let's look at the company. How is this going to impact the company? That changes the trajectory of whatever problem that you're looking through, because there's going to be certain things that you're going to go, it doesn't move the needle on the company, so let's not take it any further, where it might have massive impact on the team or on the client.
Yeah, and I don't think that lens is fixed either. I think there's going to be a time where the team has sacrifice for the client or for the company. And sometimes the company has sacrifice for the team and for the client. And sometimes, I had to say it, but sometimes the clients aren't going to get the absolute best thing that they possibly could, because I got to take care of my team, or the company needs to take care of itself first. So I think it's a balancing act, and at different times, one of those gets the priority, as long as it's fair. And that's where the compassionate piece comes along, right?
How do you balance that? Like, who's the one? Fair is an interesting thing, right? Because what's fair to me might not be fair to you, and vice versa. So who's the one? How are you balancing that? Like, how do you go through your day to day? Are you and your partner going through that and figuring that out together, or is that certain things fall on your court? How do you sort that?
Yeah, so I think on our agency, my partner takes care more of the financial side. So I would say that he is more responsible for the company's well-being, if you will. I am more responsible for the marketing product. So making sure that the clients are being taken care of from a marketing side. And I think collaboratively, we take care of the team. We are very similar to you in that we put the team first in terms of, the perks that we offer, but also the flexibility we offer, the pay, all of those things to make sure people are taken care of, but also on a opportunity for growth standpoint, in terms of training, in terms of opportunities, to do their side hustles if they want to, or pursue whatever passion it is that they have. We don't try to lock people down or anything like that. We want people to stay with our company because they love it here, and they want to retire here. At one point, we actually talked about the concept of lifetime employment. Can we really just retire with all these people? It's more difficult in practice than it is in theory, but
it is. Yeah.
We really do want to see these people grow with us, and we still have some of our very first employees.
That's so cool. Yeah, I actually had somebody for the first time a year ago say, and I've had a couple since, say, I want to retire at your company. And that blew my mind. I'm sat there and I was like,
that's an amazing compliment.
It is. But it was almost hard for me to even process, right? I'm like, it's like this burden almost was put on me, like, oh man, I got to have a company that you can actually retire at if you're going to retire here. Cause I don't think about retiring ever. Like that is not even a thought that goes through my brain. So to have somebody say that, it's just cool. And it is a big compliment. And I know your team loves working there, but at the same time, I also know that another thing that's hard right now is finding people that are culture fits, because not everybody can work in a company like yours. And so how are you working through that right now? I know that's a big struggle for everybody. What are you finding right now in the market as you go out looking for people, you're trying to grow, you're trying to expand? Walk me through that.
The way we structured our hiring is we're trying to find people like everyone else, whether it's through LinkedIn or referrals or job applications somewhere. But what we figured out is hiring is hard, and I'm terrible at it, Gary. I can't tell. There's times where I think someone's going to be amazing and they're horrible, and sometimes I'm like, and then they turn out to be amazing. So what we end up doing is we bring people in, we ask them to stay, a morning with us in whatever it is we're doing. So if there are sales calls happening, they're going to be there. If there's clients meeting happening, they're going to see it happen. They're going to see what their real life is going to look like. And then we ask them to do a little bit of homework depending on their role, and we pay them for that. If they're going to be a PPC strategist, we say, here's an account. Tell me what you do with it. And they come back and they present to the team their findings and what they would do. And again, we pay them for their time. And because they spend a day with us in person, we're an in-office company. We get to see how they fit with the team from a personality standpoint. And then we literally ask them, how much money do you need to make to be happy here? And if we can afford them, we pay them. Now, that comes with some caveats in the sense that the higher the number they ask, the higher our expectations. And we're very clear that we're going to have a check-in at 30 days and a 60 days and a 90 days. And if at 90 days we're not amazed, if it's not heck yes, it's no, we part ways. So, we almost look at it as a bit of almost like an adoption process. We're really, really diligent about who we let into the family, but that makes it tough to find people when the market is the way it is. But we'd rather run a little leaner and ask people to work a little harder. Going back to the compassionate capitalism, there's maybe a time where we're asking everyone to pull a little stronger for the company and work a little harder while we find some replacement than to let someone in who is distracting to the culture.
That's a pretty unique approach. Is that something that you learned from somebody or something that you morphed and changed? Like where did you get that from?
So, because Eric and I both came from corporate, we basically try to do everything the opposite of how we did it at GameStop,
Yep.
Like at corporate, the first thing they would ask you when you apply for the job is, how much money do you make now? Well, how much money I make now has no relevance to how much money I want to make. So we decided, early on, let's not ask people how much money they make. Let's ask them, how much money do you need to give us your absolute best, to be excited to be here and for money not to be a problem for you. And so if people feel underpaid, it's hard to feel excited about the job that you do. And so we want to make sure that money is not, the reason why we're not getting someone's rest.
Could you give me an example of where this system worked horribly? Like you brought somebody in and then you're like, oh, this person's going to work great. And then they didn't, and vice versa. Give me like this is why we do it, is because of these kind of people. Could you give me like some real life examples of that?
There was a young lady who had a master's degree, had a lot of academic knowledge. And because she has a master's degree, she asked for a lot of money. Now, again, we don't negotiate them down, even though I thought that she was a bit out of what I would have expected. and said, hey, listen, if you can deliver it, then let's do it. But I think it's a little different to come from academia and put it into practice in real life. And I think if she had been 20, 30 grand cheaper, I would have been okay giving her more time, giving her more, more rope, if you will. But when you ask for a high salary, I had to make the hard decision in 90 days. And, she didn't get more time. I think on the other hand of that, we have a young lady, she is originally from Nepal. And she is the most humble person you can possibly imagine. And I think I want to say she asked for 30 grand a year. And I was like, I can't pay you 30 grand. That's below living wage. I can't, I can't. And she's amazing. I think, in the sense that because she was so humble, she worked really hard. We were constantly, giving her raises. And I see her as someone who could someday take on the company and, as we retire, because she's that passionate. And because of, we're constantly evaluating everyone on the team and rewarding people as they move upstream, is the word we use, as they take on more responsibilities and they offer more value. I think she feels appreciated, and there's this growth journey with us that I think if we just had offered her a random salary, I don't think it would have felt the same.
That's such a good point. Yeah. And I'm thinking of people on our team that have a similar, trajectory. And that's really cool when you get to work with people like that are hungry and that are taking off and growing alongside the company. It's really, really exciting. What's some things that right now, like what does your day look like as a so you guys are co-CEOs. So what does your day-to-day look like right now?
So right now, in the spirit of, pulling together, we lost a couple of people, that, reasons, I guess. And I'm actually taking a lot more client calls than I normally would, if you will, to keep clients happy. But normally I spend my time doing business development, networking, talking to prospects and things of that nature. I do a lot of the strategy on the account in terms of, our model. We agree with the clients on a marketing budget, and then we sort of determine along with them how we think it's going to best drive results. So maybe right now they need a photo shoot, so we move money towards there. Maybe they need more content written or more paid media campaigns. And so I help oversee some of that. And then, doing the HR sort of things with one-on-ones with the team members and, have one-on-ones with virtually everyone, even if they're remote. We have a few people that are remote. So my day is a mix of those three things.
So you have some people that are in office and some people that are remote. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
How do you kind of balance that? How do you manage that?
It's not my favorite. Now, it happened sort of by accident in that we had a young lady who was from here, worked in the office, and moved to South Africa with her now husband. And he ended up being in the industry, so we ended up hiring him as well. And then they recommended a couple of friends, so we ended up with a little mini South Africa branch. But I think that the way we try to do it is the core nucleus of the company, the strategy, the decision making. We try to keep that in office. With the exception of these few folks in South Africa, we try to. Remote people are generally more of the commodity type of work. Not interacting with the clients, just delivering maybe video editing or photo editing, that sort of thing, not driving the relationships with the clients.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. And then when we met last, you explained something to me that you call them dark weeks or dark days. Could you, and I might have got the name wrong. I think it was something cooler than that.
No, that's right.
Is that right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. So I was like, that sounds cool. I want to do a dark week. Like, I don't even know what it is and I want to do it. So walk me through what a dark week is and when you do it and why you do it and all that good stuff.
So dark weeks, the genesis of it was, as an agency, we spend so much time working on our clients' work that we spend very little time working on things for us. And we tried a lot of different ways to make that happen. At one point, we used to call them Orange Fridays. So we try to do all the client work Monday through Thursday, and then on Fridays, work on our stuff, our operation, our processes and things. But it's just difficult because work always overflows from Thursday into Friday. So you try to finish up a couple of things before you get to it, and you don't do any of it. And so it became obvious that in order for us to build anything meaningful, you needed to have some time aside. And so this came during COVID. We decided that once a month for a week, a few team members would go dark. That means no meetings, no emails, don't log into Asana, don't answer phone calls or text messages, and just work on the stuff that you think will make the biggest impact to the agency. And that's where a lot of our innovation, a lot of our automations, and just revamping of systems happen, because people are given the time and the freedom and the resources, the money, whatever it is they needed to take on an initiative and be able to focus on that.
Okay. And like, what's some good things that have come out of that? And then how does that practically work from like day to day when you're working with actually blocking things out? Like, do they just take it like vacation? Like it's just like a vacation time where they're just blacking out and they have an autoresponder and those kind of things?
Yeah, exactly like that. We communicate, we plan ahead of time. So let's say, Gary, you want to do a dark week project. You first will pitch the project to the team. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. This is what I'm going to need. I'm going to need, maybe you're going to need 2 weeks and you're going to break them up. Maybe you're going to need a couple grand, whatever it is. You're going to say, this is what I think I need. And then you're going to communicate who needs to fill the gap for you. So maybe someone needs to cover some of your meetings. Someone needs to cover, pick up some work for you. And then you go dark. Some of the cool things we've done, for example, one of the things we do when we take on a client is we do a photo and video shoot. Well, that generates a lot of assets that need to be distributed and go into the wild, right? So we built an Sun integration that once a video edit card is complete, you can click one button and it automatically gets posted to Facebook with captions and hashtags. It gets posted to YouTube, and then a YouTube ad gets created automatically on that client's AdWords account or Google Ads account, right? So we invested some time for a week, but it's saving time every single day as new videos get edited. Someone doesn't have to spend 30 minutes creating, video ads and YouTube ads, Facebook ads. So that's one. We have done, like what I was telling you earlier, the project where we took all of the keyword data and headline and search terms and all of the Google Ads data from all of the accounts, dump them into one place, and we did n-gram analysis. I don't know how familiar you are with that, but what are the combination of terms that are most effective? So for instance, some of these are going to be no-brainers, like any keywords with the words near me in dentistry do better than if they don't, right? But cost of and how much also behave differently, and maybe you anticipate that. So by seeing all of the data together, and what are the conversion rates when these terms exist together or not. So that was another one of the Dark Day projects.
What was the conclusion of that? Were you able to lower your overall acquisition or click through? Like, what was the result of collaborating on all that data?
Yeah, I think so. We were able to take that data and lower the cost per conversion, because I've realized how much searches that have the word "how much" are lesser intent than cost of. I can't tell you why that is, but that's what I saw. So we can do bid adjustments, right, on the keywords that you want to go after.
Oh, that's fascinating. That's so cool. Yeah, we've played around with that. Like, as an example, when we talk to potential clients, we tell them, hey, if you use videos on these kinds of patients, your cost per acquisition is going to be 25% lower than if you just do a text ad, right? Mm-hmm. So do you want to invest in video? You can. Here's your cost that's going to lower you. And we can begin to tell them that. I know it's a little bit different than what you're saying there, but I think that kind of stuff is fascinating. It's so awesome when you figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, really cool.
Especially because I think, videos and display ads, for example, it's not necessarily the direct conversions on those that you see, but exactly like you said, when those are running, the overall cost per acquisition of the search campaigns are better.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many cool things that you could splice and figure out on that front. It's interesting too. Like, I know you work with dentists, so dentists are very analytical, and so dentists are always wanting to get into look at the data and figure out the data. But I always tell people, it's like you coming in as a dentist, coming in to look at marketing data is very similar to me going in and trying to figure out how to read an X-ray. Right? Like, can I look at it and kind of get some kind of conclusion from it? Sure. Is it going to be right? Probably not. I'm probably not going to be close to what the outcome needs to be. And I absolutely, this is my favorite part about marketing, is being able to do those kind of things and breaking it apart. All right. I have I don't know if you've seen them online. There's been these drafts that people do. And so you do like a top 5 draft. I didn't warn you about this. So,
all right, I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, let's do a top 5 draft, and I'll let you go first. And then niches that we could get into that are not in dental. So Like
Okay.
another niche that you're interested in that you find interesting. So niches that if you were going to start a marketing agency, these are niches that you would get into outside of dental.
So is this a draft, meaning you're going to give me options or just out of all
You have all the
possibilities?
whole world. You have the whole world to draft from. So we're doing like a brand new draft. The whole world is your oyster, and you're trying to get the top 5 niches, and you don't want me to get niches, right? You don't want me to get the good niches. So I'm going to draft against you, and then we're going to look at the end and see who had the best draft.
Gotcha.
This is for starting a marketing agency.
Marketing. All right. I think so. My first pick, with the first round pick of the 2022 marketing niche draft, I think I'm going to go with med spas. It seems to be growing super fast. I have friends in the industry already, so I think it would be an easier entry point for me. But that's where I'm going to go.
That's a really good one. And I'm going to pick one that's similar. I'm only going to go, the only reason I'm going with this one and I wouldn't go with med spas is because the average ticket's higher. I'm going to go with cosmetic type surgeries. So like nose jobs or like the stuff that people get in their faces restructured or big accidents that people get in and stuff like that. So that's where I would go.
Yeah, no, that was going to be my second pick. So now I have to think again about what my second one would be. Hair restoration.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I think the market is growing. And I think in the next 5-10 years, there might be developments in the space that continues. There's always something new coming up that keeps it interesting.
That is a really good one. Okay. Yeah. And very niche avatar, right? Like, who you're going after for that service because it's guys with that are bald. They're usually a certain age. So that's a good one. All right. I got a really good one. This is a close first, but when you pick med spa, you kind of scared me into picking this one, the cosmetic first. So accident attorneys. So the average, the last time I looked into this, the average cost per click gets easily up into the $100 range just for one click, right? Because it's so competitive, and the shelf life for how it works is someone gets in an accident and you need an attorney, and this is why you see their billboards everywhere on the freeway because when you get in an accident, you're like, oh, I need an attorney. Who am I going to call? And you need somebody like right away, and they work for free, so you get to pick, right? So accident attorneys don't get paid. They only bring on cases that they know that they can win, and then they keep a percentage of the winnings. So it's a huge payout for them, more than even hourly or anything like that. And so it's just it's insanely competitive. But if you can figure it out, I feel like it would be a very lucrative industry.
No, that is really interesting, and that sparks the idea for me then of going DUI attorneys specifically, because those are expensive ticket items too. And when you need them, when you're at a point of need for those searches, you need them right then and there. Like, you're not doing long research for months. As where cosmetic, you might be thinking about cosmetic stuff for many years before you do it. I imagine that if you got a WI, you need to act right away. But I have no idea as far as the market goes, what the opportunity is there.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I don't know that one as well either. I know that probably the ticket size. I don't know the ticket size, but the DUIs get pretty expensive. So that would be an interesting one. All right. So the next one, I personally loved working with these early on. I just didn't have enough of them to really make it interesting. Was working with sporting venues, like different kinds of sporting events and venues that would rent out their facilities. They'd have events there. They'd have different kinds of like vendors that would also use their facility. So it was like multi-purpose sporting venues. I don't know how lucrative it would be, but it was a lot of fun. I loved working with sporting places and figuring that out. I loved playing sports when I was younger, so it was very natural to me.
I think I realized because I'm in dental, all of my ideas seem to be in the healthcare space. So, because the next one that came to my mind was those lap band, weight loss type of surgeries. Because I think the weight loss space in general terms is huge.
All right, I'm gonna go one similar to that. So I would love to know if you have these in your area. So I've been doing these IV drips, and so they come to your house. You call them, and if you're feeling sick, or if you have a trip and you're going to be like jet lag and those kind of things, they come to your house and they give you this just like carpet bomb of of vitamins, and it works. Like I've been getting sick, or my family's getting sick, and I take it and I don't get sick, or I stop the process of getting sick. I can kind of feel it getting sick. And I think right now it's mobile, and where I'm at in Southern California, they just come to you. You can get same day. Like right now I could have somebody here in an hour or two, and it's a little bit costly. So I think over time cost will come down, but I think that's going to be a big thing everywhere soon.
Wow. No, I have seen them. I've seen them more in the context of in the bars. You know, I got married this year and I went to Scottsdale for a bachelor party, and those are everywhere. So if you're hungover, if you went out drinking, or if you had, whatever, then they come to you and give you an IV. But I hadn't seen it in the context of, I'm getting sick with a cold or flu beforehand. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah. So they work. They really work too. I asked a bunch of people about them beforehand. So it was like a bunch of doctors and different people like, hey, what do you think of these? And everybody's like, yeah, they're safe. Just don't abuse them. You don't want to take them all the time. So that one I'm fascinated with. All right. Last pick. What's your last one?
Last one. So even though we're a dental marketing company, we have one non-dental client, and he is a best friend of one of our very first dentists. And he is an orthopedic surgeon, like a back and foot and spine sort of place. And they crush it. They really do. And they now have, I think, 8 to 10 doctors in 3 facilities. And they're doing really well. So I can see a path of going in that specifically. When I first started working with them, their CPA thought that they got scammed because they're getting invoice from pain-free dental marketing. And they're like, what is this? We're orthopedic surgeons.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that I've actually had that similar things happen before. All right, my last pick. This is a big one. I would do B2B SaaS marketing. So people who are making SaaS products for businesses and helping them market to the businesses to buy it. So all your project management softwares, all the Slack type softwares, all that kind of stuff. It's really B2B marketing is one of the hardest. And I think that there's huge opportunity there. And there's a couple of people that I know that are doing it really successfully. I think that would be a really fun industry to be in.
Yeah. I've been listening, obviously, to the podcast quite often. I've been hearing you talk about B2B and how different it is than B2C. And I do think there's a lot of opportunity there because I think we're all doing it wrong when it comes to B2B. We're treating it as if it was B2C.
It's so, yeah.
It's not.
The last, well, how I explain it is that if you're selling shoes to somebody, all you have to do is convince one person to buy a pair of shoes. And if they have the money to do it, then they do it. With B2B, there's contract, there's buying cycles, there's multiple decisions. And the bigger the company, the harder it is. And people don't just buy right away. There's a whole process, and you have to put people in the funnels and work them through those funnels, those trust funnels. And it's really, really hard compared to B2C. B2C is much easier to do. And I find that B2C marketers like us tend to apply B2C principles to B2B. And then we go, man, it didn't work like the way that it was supposed to. And it's just because there's so much more branding and trust and authority that goes into it outside of just what you normally do. So anyways, man, this has been a really, really good episode. Thank you so much for being transparent. Thank you for sharing the good stuff, the bad stuff. If someone wants to learn more about your agency or what you guys are doing, how can they get in touch with you?
painfreedentalmarketing.com, or come back to the Discord channel. I'm there all the time. The Agency Growth Engine podcast.
Free advertisement. There we go. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate it. Appreciate your friendship. I appreciate being able to bounce stuff off of you and having someone in the dental industry. And great job today. I really value our relationship.
I did too, man. It's been a phenomenal ride, and obviously getting to see someone who is a few steps ahead in the journey and learn from those things. I really appreciate how giving and sharing and kind you have been to not just me, but for everyone in the community.
Thanks, man. You have a good one.